nature of geometry, or geometry in nature, I've always found fascinating. As a child, I loved snowflakes. I still love snowflakes. I love the geometry of flowers. There was one day I was waiting for a friend of mine at the Natural History Museum in London, and I noticed that the tail on the dinosaur, the big dinosaur that when you walk in, that each piece fit into the next piece in the most extraordinary, simple way, and it's amazing. Somewhere along the line between the snowflakes and the dinosaur's tail, something clicked and something made sense to me. So I ended up creating things that there's a geometry to them, there's a sense of Mother Nature in them, and it makes sense. It's just not very explainable, it just makes sense. I mean, how do you explain that our skeletons are created the way they are? It's because they make sense. Each joint, each bone has a way of being there because it needs to be there. So the flanges support each other, they need to be there. When I started working in clay, I hadn't gone to school for it, so I actually didn't know what I was doing. I found myself almost being a child in kindergarten playing. And what would happen is that I started experimenting. And nobody had explained to me that you're not meant to be able to pull horizontally to the wheel head. So you're meant to create a bowl or a bottle, that you're not meant to be able to throw flanges off the side of pieces. So what happened is I started throwing my own way. I became fascinated with the properties of the material and their structural integrity, so almost the engineering of it. I spent a lot of time in New York in museums and walking around and looking at different cultures, from Mayan art to Chinese art to Middle Eastern art. And I think all these had an influence on the work I do in some part. Because I didn't know what I wasn't meant to be able to do, I ended up doing things differently. So this is why my pieces look so different, is because of the lack of education and the fact that I started late. If you start late, you're already a grown-up, so you're not very good at listening to other people. And because you don't go to school, you don't have the ABCs, it means that you're just discovering on your own 2 feet or your own 2 hands what you're doing. I feel as though I'm a 3-year-old because I'm always learning. And I think the world is an extraordinary place. And if you have the capacity to be a child and to recognize you are a child, it means you can make mistakes. And because you're a child, you're more likely to forgive yourself for mistakes. Grown-ups don't forgive themselves. about 2 a month. So, and they take about 1.5 months each to finish. So it takes a long time. And I don't make that very many a year. When the pieces break and crack, I try to save as much as I can because I've spent a long time working on them. So I'm making a series of birds. I make myself maps. So this is one of the birds. So the bird, that's a map of where my fingers have been while I've been making it. So I keep a reference of how my fingers have ended up, where they've ended up. But when it comes to cutting them and actually ending up with the end shape, that's something that comes with just that moment of serenity or peace or quiet or however you want to put it, that I end up at the results I do. I look at these shapes and I think, I have no idea how I ended up at the end of the result like that. Because if I understood how I ended up there, I'd be able to make 2 of the same piece. So that's fine. And I think to each their own. This is, I love doing this. I love seeing them coming out of the kiln. I love the fact they survive. It's a miracle to me that they survive and they come out and they don't have things falling off the edge and there's not a crack in them. If I started thinking about how complicated they are and how I end up at this point, I think I would be overthinking it and overcomplicating it. So when I'm making the pieces themselves, even how many flanges I end up with, they're not measured. So if you look at the flanges and you look at them and you measure them, you'll see that one is 0.5 centimeter smaller than the other one, and they all look about the same size, but if you measure them, you'll see they're actually not. They're almost the same size. And I think that comes with the Mother Nature side of it. It's not machinery, it's not technology, it's the human touch, it's the natural touch. If I could keep them and not sell them, I would. So I do miss them when they leave. There are 1 or 2 pieces I would have really liked to have kept that I still think, oh, I'm never going to see it again, and that upsets me. But it's something that is dear to me, that's it. The people who do connect are used to seeing a lot of work, and I've had some extraordinary reactions from people who have understood how unusual they are and how difficult they are. And they've given me a point of view which I wasn't expecting. It's unusual to see complete strangers that you don't know and with their reaction. Because it's either, oh, I don't understand what that is, or this is extraordinary. So I seem to have both ends of the spectrum. And because there aren't that many of them out there, there aren't that many people who've seen them. So it's still new. I would like these flowers to be, if this is the size of a man, so these flowers would be up here. So that you could walk under them and have a giant flowers. Almost like a wonderland. So this is where I'm going with these. I think art has to be a movement forward. It can't be stagnant. It can't stay in the past. It can't stay in the present. It has to have something that pushes it forward. And I think human beings will always end up trying to make something new, trying to make something different, or trying to create something that makes something better. So I regard art rather like science. It has to be a movement forward.